thing, and then the threaded ones. So the threaded ones are just slightly bigger. So if you've been watching along on the Velocette clutch videos and also making the frame, this being one of them, you'll have noted that I alluded to the fact that I hadn't really appreciated the chain run, or I'd seen all these frames made and thought, oh yeah, that's okay. Pretty stupid. Called myself an engineer, didn't really get that right. Could kick myself, and am kicking myself, but anyway, I am where I am. So I've marked on here, this is the place where the chain is actually running at a diagonal across that plane. So it's more at that sort of angle when it's on the bike. So it's coming across at this sort of position here. So I've got to find a way of modifying the tube, which I'm currently thinking about. To confound my stupidity, I welded on this strengthening plate, and ultimately I'd like to bend the tube from here, to bend it out that way, and then I can ultimately try and bend from the point where I bend it up and bend it sideways. I could let in a piece of tube, I could do all sorts of things, but I'm trying to come up with a neat solution to it. I don't really want to chop and carve it at the moment. I'd like to try and achieve something with what I've got. Obviously the distance between the holes and the hole at the end, you know, if you're going to bend it, if you're going to tweak it, then effectively that may end up becoming a bit of a problem. Probably won't be the right length, but I'll come up with a plan of how I'm going to modify it, and hopefully I'll be able to show you a bit of that. If I was to twist it from here, I'm going to need to cut that weld to allow me to bend the tube at a place where I want to bend it, and then I'm going to have to join that back together again. Yeah, all in all, the trials and tribulations of designing stuff when you haven't allowed for putting all the things in place which are fixed points, which I should have known about. But anyway, no point in crying about it. Let's get on and fix it. So we're back on track. I have cut the weld down here, bent the tube a bit further round on this bend line and tacked it together, and then I've warmed the tube up and I've managed to bend that to clear the chain. I've just checked it and it seems okay. And the other thing I've done is I noticed that this top piece here was touching on the frame, on a frame tube, which it shouldn't have been, so I've just cut a bit of a relief in there, and basically I'll just cut that weld and re-tacked it very gently for the minute. So the hole at the end looks like it still lines up, so we kind of bent it very much, we just sort of tweaked its length, so it's a bit like a, what's it like, a bit like a wonky walking stick at the moment. So aesthetically it's not as pleasing if it was in a straight line, but the chain's more important than the tube, so one's got to give. So I'll go and fit this on the bike now, and I'll show you what it looks like with a bit of chain I found, to show the run of the, or the line of the chain in relationship to the tube. Right, okay, so bolted at the front, bolted at the rear. This is the scallop I've had to do. Might do a little bit more. There's the bend, so you can see from above. And then I haven't got a complete chain, I've only got a length of chain. But when I pull that round, bearing in mind it's a rigid bike, so there's no wheel going up and down, so this chain can be tensioned in a way which is doesn't, obviously not bow tight, but it doesn't need to be loose Bruce. I've got a nice bit of clearance in there, which should be nice. So what I'm going to do next, obviously I've got to weld all of this back up together again, which is fine. So I need to sort out foot peg positions. So I'm going to use this fixing here. I'm not sure what that was used for in the original bike. I'm going to weld a plate along here, and then I'm going to join the two with a piece of aluminium, which is going to have multiple holes in it for lightness. And it's going to have multiple holes so that I can use one of those holes to put the foot peg in, and I can start looking at what I'm going to do with the gear change. So I'm probably going to use the speed twin foot peg position as an idea about where I want to go. So if I take a measurement from the spindle forward and get a position of the foot peg, I can roughly work out how big this aluminium plate is, and then I can look at welding something on here. A couple of threaded inserts. And then what I was saying about the foot peg mount, so I've just got this piece of 1/4 inch aluminium plate, using that bolt hole. It's had an angle cut on the bottom, which just happens to be very fortuitous, not what I'd intended, but it seems to work out quite well. So I've just drawn a line down the bottom, and then the idea would be weld something like that. Get the camera where you're looking, or I should be looking. Get that mounted on there with some threaded inserts in, or some nuts welded on the back, and that will become the base for that. So it'll be fixed at the bottom with 2 screws probably, or 2 bolts I should say, and one at the top. And then with that in the place, if it would stay still, could then get the relationship for the foot peg. Drew a series of holes, pattern of holes in here, and then one of them can be the foot peg hole. Right, let's get on with that then.